friends, it is now time for the Soulful Psalm segment of Beacon of Truth. The Soulful Psalms is where you take one of the Psalms from the Book of Sung Praises, from the wisdom literature of the Old Testament that we hear in every holy sacrifice of the Mass, and we connect that Psalm to your everyday lived experience. And today, my friends, we're going to continue our look at Psalm 55. So Psalm 55 is in Book 2 of the Psalms, and Psalms 51 through 72 in Book 2 are all composed by David. And so the prescript or superscript of this psalm is the entire first verse. It says, Lemenzeach ben Genith maskil ha-David. For the choir master on stringed instruments, a maskil of David. So we can tell from the prescript here that, of course, David wrote the psalm. Then he gave it to the choir master. So remember, the choir master, they were part of the musical guild of the Jewish temple. These were some of them wrote psalms, but mostly they put music or composed music for the psalm. So David wrote this psalm, gave it to the choir master to put music to, and he specifically wanted it on stringed instruments, benganith in Hebrew. He wanted it on stringed instruments, and this is also a maskil. So we see words like maskil. We also see other words within some of the prescripts and superscripts of the Psalms. Now maskil means enlightened one or scholar, but we don't know exactly what these words meant. Like miktam, for example, it means thing that covers today, but we don't know what those words and how exactly they were used back in the time that these Psalms were written. But I think if we apply modern day look at this, a maskil of David, so enlightened wisdom, inspired by the Holy Spirit, David when he wrote this particular psalm. So we're diving in today at verse 21. So this psalm by David started off. Give ear, O God, to my prayer. Do not hide from my pleading. Attend to me and reply. With my cares I cannot rest. So almost in typical David style, he's dealing with something. And again, this is probably written during the persecution that he experienced from Saul, starting in 1 Samuel 17 all the way through almost the end of 1 Samuel 26. And so he wrote many of these Psalms during that time. And so David's calling out to the Lord for aid and assistance during his time of persecution. Again, typical of David. And verse 21 says, the traitor has turned against his friends. He has broken his pact. His speech is softer than butter, but war is in his heart. So God is, he's talking about here his enemies, those who are persecuting him, right? Because remember, he was in league with Saul. Remember, he after he killed Goliath, Saul took him in. So he left his father's Jesse house. He started living in the kingdom, in the castle, with Saul. Became a warrior for Saul, winning many battles. But then again, Saul got jealous. And, because the maidens were singing, Saul has killed his hundreds and David has killed his thousands, and he got jealous and threw a spear at David, missed David. The spear was implanted into the wall. And from that day forward, the persecution started until in the end, of course, when David had an opportunity, when Saul and his army was put into a deep sleep, terdema, in Hebrew, in fact, it's the same word that's used for in Genesis 2, when the Adam was put into a deep sleep, terdema, it's the same word. And then he had an opportunity to kill Saul, but he didn't do it. He just took the water jar and stuff and then, let Saul know, hey, I could have done this, but I didn't. And then Saul stopped the persecution. But he's talking about, he was friends with Saul. Now Saul's trying to kill him. So he says the traitor has turned against his friends, kind of an allusion to Saul here. He has broken his pact, the promises that he made. His speech is softer than butter, but war is in his heart. See, you say one thing, but your actions dictate something else. We call that, what do we call that today? Two-faced, right? Where somebody, they speak, say, yes, I make all these promises, but when in reality, they don't live up to the expectation, or they don't follow through on the things that they promised you. We've all experienced situations like that with friends or with even family members. So our words should match our actions, especially when we come to talk about effective evangelization. We can talk about the importance of faith and how much the Lord means in your life. It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to live it. And one thing I can tell you for a fact, if you're a parent, you have children, you know this is true. Or if you deal with young people, you know this is true, that they can spot a fake a mile away. So if you are not actually living your faith, but you're paying lip service to it, but they see that you're actually not living the things you're professing, then they're going to call you out on it. Jesus did the same thing with the scribes and the Pharisees, right? He said, remember, he even told the people, do what they do. Follow what they say, but don't follow their example, because they're teaching you the right things. So he never accused them of teaching anything wrong, but they're following the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law. Remember, he said they put heavy burdens on other people, but don't want to carry the burdens themselves. So again, the contradiction there. So we have to be careful when we're witnessing to our faith, not just with our words, but with our actions have to match our words as well if we are to be effective. And then finally, it says here, his words are smoother than oil, but they are swords unsheathed, right? So we see a parallelism here where David is using different imagery to describe the situation that's going on with Saul. And so it's kind of, technically it's called like an enjambment. It's like a continuation of the thought, but he uses different images here. So butter is softer than butter, but words in heart. His words are smoother than oil, but they are swords unsheathed, right? So wonderful imagery to show again that we have to live what we believe.
For more on the Psalms with Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, check out Beacon of Truth weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio and streaming everywhere you listen to podcasts.